Well, it happened late, but AK did make a trade into the draft, drafting Julian Phillips out of Tennessee. What is he going to bring to the Chicago Bulls potentially? We're going to talk about it right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bulls Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bulls news and content.
What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. And so we waited for a long time over the course of this draft to see what the Bulls were going to do. And we got our answer early into the second round, which the Bulls traded for the 35th overall pick and draft Julian Phillips. Now, this is a 6'8", 195-pound small forward / power forward out of Tennessee, a freshman, a guy's 19 years old. He'll turn 20 years old in November, and he brings to the Chicago Bulls an elite defensive mindset. Already, you guys probably know just by looking at him, he has that wingspan ratio that AK already likes to have with his team. He's an athletic beast. His athleticism is elite. And when you look at the defensive side of the ball, this guy can guard 1 through 4 and maybe even some 5s if he's able to eventually add on to that frame. This kid has some potential here, right? And the explosiveness that he has, the potential of being a rebounder, shot blocker is there a little bit. And one of the things with it is if he's on you playing on ball defense, he is gonna hound you and he's gonna stop people from getting to the rim. Also, elite finishing ability around the rim. Basically, what they did is they went out and got a younger, bigger as far as height, and a player with more upside version of Derrick Jones Jr. That's what the Chicago Bulls went out and got. Now, one of the things, the biggest questions with him is he was not used a lot on the offensive side of the ball. So his offense is a big question mark there on how he's going to round out offensively. He can finish in the rim. If you get out in transition, he's definitely going to dunk it on some people's heads. But ultimately, he does not initiate offense for himself. He doesn't have too much of an outside touch at all, not really a threat to stretch the ball. He's going to need to focus on consistency, developing a shot. The Bulls just recently signing a player development coach who's also been a shooting coach, so maybe they can work on that with him. His shot, the form, it's going to need some work. And so he really joins the Chicago Bulls, and what AK has done with this team almost since he's been here is drafting long, athletic players that can play and guard multiple positions, but doesn't really have a shot, right? We've seen it with Dalen Terry, right? We saw it even Ayo Dosunmu, who was more of a scorer in college, right? Patrick Williams as well. Like, Patrick Williams rounded out to a pretty good three-point shooter. And then we also got Justin Lewis, who is also in our G League development team with the Windy City Bulls. But the biggest question now remains is, does Julian Phillips get a shot at being on the court right away for the Chicago Bulls? I'm going to say this. I think that there may be a chance. And the only reason why I do think that there may be a chance is because of the elite defensive potential of Julian Phillips. This guy, and this is no hyperbole, we're talking about somebody who can be elite defensively. And because of that, as we've seen with Ayo, who initially worked himself into the rotation because of his defense and some injuries, but now with the Chicago Bulls, DJJ moving on, we know that we're strapped for cash. We don't have a lot of money. Julian Phillips could make a name for himself on the Chicago Bulls roster with his defense alone. And keep in mind, we've drafted young defensive players before that offensive game ends up rounding out when you look at like a Jimmy Butler and even a Taj Gibson in a way as well, right? So this guy, I'm not going to say that I predict him to necessarily play a big role for the Chicago Bulls early in the next season, but keep in mind, if this guy gets on the court early, it's going to be because of his defense. And with that said, if he does get on the court, this Bulls team, especially off the bench, gets out in transition more with Alex Caruso forcing turnovers, Julian Phillips can find himself getting a lot of those highlight reel dunks that used to go to Javonte and Derrick Jones Jr. This pick almost lets me know as well, Javonte, even though DJJ went, may not be coming back either. We get a player that's a legit power forward that can play some for the Chicago Bulls. Let me know what you guys think down below. I know this isn't the move that Bulls fans were hoping for, but it can be a move that could pay off in the short and long term for the Chicago Bulls. I guess we'll see. Make sure you're following the show at Bulls Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, bullcentralpod@gmail.com. And then lastly, if you want to leave a text message and or voicemail, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related because of you guys. And like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. See red if you can, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.